the commendable thing would be this. Now, you have had some years of experience doing this now, but can you profile what we have in our prison setup, in our prison system? Can you actually give us a short profile, a summary of what we are faced with, from your experience?
One of the major things that comes to mind readily is the fact that you have more of awaiting trial persons in prisons. The prison population has between 65-70% awaiting trial persons.
No, wait. Let's put that in perspective. You are saying somebody is being locked up.
Yes.
When he has not gone to trial.
Without trial.
And the number of such persons, let's say in 100, you have 60 to 70
you
of such
could have
persons.
60 to 70 of such persons. But then, today, it's a little fairer, even though we still have those high statistics. But it's becoming better because the agencies are now taking on responsibilities. And I think I would use this opportunity to talk about what Prawa has actually done in line with that. Okay. Currently, there is a project that Prawa has been running the last 2 years plus, and it's speeding up criminal justice in Nigeria. Really, for the first time, various agencies of the criminal justice sector are coming together to deal with the issues that are increasing the number of awaiting trial persons without trial.
When you say agencies, will the police be part of them?
The police is part of them. The judiciary is a very vital part, and the Nigerian prisons themselves. Then there are other organizations and organs of government. You have the Legal Aid Council, you have the Nigerian Bar Association, and you have also other NGOs that are working in this sector who are working together to see how do we reduce the amount of time people spend on awaiting trials, and also to help find out, are there people who should not be in prison in the first place?
That is the question I was going to ask. That why must they be locked up when they have not gone to trial? Is that the law? Is that what the law says? Is that a constitutional thing, or what? Is that because our operatives can just take the law into their own hands and say, okay, since I cannot find somebody to bail this man, let me go and lock him up? Is that what we are facing here?
There are elements of that play out. You find out that. Let me use the instance of an environmental sanitation program, for instance. You find out at the end of an environmental sanitation, you have several people are picked up. Yes. And for whatever reasons, they're not able to meet whatever bail conditions, they're sent to prison. And the prisons, like we know, do not have the right to reject people who are sent to them. So they have to take in everyone. Now, that is a problem in itself.
Okay, wait a minute. Just let's run this all over again. You're saying somebody who just happens to be on the street on Environmental Saturday and is held by the anti-environmental people is going to be locked up.
It's possible the person ends up in prison. There is that possibility because there are people who are in prison who will tell you that maybe the police raided an area yes. And they found themselves at the wrong place at the wrong time and they got there, and because their bail conditions were not perfected, they found themselves in prison. And for some of these people, family members are not aware they are there. Nobody is aware, so they are just there endlessly. But what that project is doing, it was piloted in Enugu. Okay. It's currently ongoing in Abuja. Okay. Is to look at, also identify some of these people. And I really want to use this opportunity to also say clearly that some of the things that have come out from that project is a central case management system that is able to help track when people come in. The moment someone has an interface with the criminal justice system, right from the police, there's a case management system that documents them. Then at the judiciary, the level of the judiciary, there is the Ministry of Justice now. There is also a system that documents them. So if you want to track, it's now easy, at least starting with Enugu, to know at what point did this person come into the prison, yes. And how long has this person stayed through this process, and at what stage is their case. So at least that for us gives some hope that if this can be replicated across the country, then we have a central one that then you can know that, okay, if someone comes in to the police at this point, within this number of days, this person's case should be treated and moved on to the next level. And then that way you also reduce the number of persons that are going through the judiciary process where they have to be in court. By the time you reduce that, it also reduces the number of people that end up in prison ultimately. So these are some of the quick things that has happened.
That's amazing. If that can happen in Nigeria, where we know that things actually do not get organized that quickly. Now, that brings up the question of the back end of this. Now, I must hazard a guess that virtually everywhere in the country, everybody is now computerized. But I don't think the judiciary system or the policing system or the criminal justice system is computerized.
Not fully computerized, but for the agencies we are working with, that aspect is being taken care of. Because, for instance, in Enugu, where you have this the case management systems operational, they are computer-based.
Now.
Yes, they're computer-based.
So you can have access to the information?
You can have access to the information. Not online now, but at least, because it's a pilot thing, we are seeing how can they, let them even put all the cases they have into the system. Because that's one step. So that
make it available
so
to
that
others.
They make it available. And I know that in Lagos State also, they are also coming up with such a case management system that helps them to track the cases, at least from the point of the Ministry of Justice. I am aware that such is in existence, where they can now say, okay, this case came to the office of the DPP at this time. Between this time and this time, an advice has been given and it has been moved to this next level. So there's some elements of that happening right now.
You can track some of this
track some of this.
Now, okay, now let's come back to the beneficiaries. Because the beneficiaries will be the prisoners,
yes,
their families, yes, and dependents.
And the immediate communities, yes, also they belong to.
So how have you been able to relate with them? Have you been able to share with them your own passion, your dream, that all these fellows that they have locked up can actually come back and live, fruitfully, within the community? Have you been able to? Yes,
like I said, when Power started, it started with the one-on-one interactions with these inmates. At that point, you found out there were quite a number of people who did not have, whose families did not know they were in prison. And Power had a project at the time called the Family Link Project, where prisoners were able to write and communicate to their families. Power was like the middle person to get those information out to the families to say, you have a family member who is in XYZ prison. So apart from that, Power operates on 3 program levels. Okay. We have the Security and Justice Unit, which deals with issues around practices and policies that we hope will create that humane society that we are looking at. Then we have the Social Development and Rehabilitation Unit, where I fully function. This unit has the mandate to deal with
things like that.
Things like this. Yes, interfaces directly, because we are not only working on those who are in prison, we are also working with those who might be predisposed to criminal behavior that might end them in prisons. Because above all, what we say is it is better to prevent than to begin to correct. Because, and that's why I talked about youths at risk. I talked about having youths at risk at the very core of our work. For the people who are in prison, what we do with them is we have regular interfaces. Sometime last year, we had a training for them to talk about the rights of the prisoners, and we came up with a handbook